Yesterday we had a nice spring day, and got quite a lot done on blogs, customer work, things of that nature. And today what we're working on the Beast Part 2. I'm still trying to get this on the road by May. Being locked out of Facebook for a month, like I said, a couple of posts created a ton of problems for us. But we're moving forward. We've got progress. Yesterday, we gutted the dash, took out speaker, grill, ashtray, glove box. As you can see, the wiring is a nightmare on these old vehicles, almost any of them. When you get to be 70 years old, everybody and their brother has repaired something or added something like switches. Who knows? So, and the gauges, of course, the speedometer hand is down here in the bottom of the speedometer. That's no good. The old gauges were calibrated. The original gauges for a 51 Chevy truck are calibrated to 30 pounds oil pressure. This is running a 1960 Chevy 235 6-cylinder, and it's got a higher oil pressure. I found Classic Trucks has, and Jim Carter sell these, but Classic Trucks. I got a new set of gauges. They appear exactly as the originals, but they are calibrated to 60 pounds of oil pressure. And the original gauges are 6 volt, so I have these at 12 volt. Now your headlight switch, it worked. It was fine, but it is 70 years old. So I went ahead and replaced it. It's about $40. Worthy investment. The project today is to start out getting some of this wiring out of the way. I have a new wiring harness, and we'll do that. Now I'm not sure if these bulbs, most are burnt, so I'm assuming they were originally 6 volt. It does appear that they were. So we're not going to worry about those because this has been upgraded, like say, to a 12 volt system. Now a lot of people have trouble with 6 volt electric systems. If they're done right, I don't have any problem at all. I've run quite a few miles with 6 volt electric systems. You just don't have the cranking amperage. And so this has already been switched over to a 12 volt system. So I'm not going to argue with the logic of that. And since this is going to be a driver more than a we're not going to worry too much about 12 volt or alternator. Now, another issue that you have to decide what you're going to do with these is the floorboard. This truck is pretty rust-free. It's an Arizona truck, but the cowl vent up by the windshield leaked for many years, and they had carpet on the floor, which rotted the floor, and they did a homemade job on the flooring, which creates a problem because the original seat base is part of the floorboard. This has got to be addressed too, but that's not the project for today. But the gas pedal is not original, but I have an original setup in the parts truck. The original starter is usually next to the gas pedal, and it is a floor starter. I'll probably be putting that back. Right now, they have a push button and a key ignition. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with that. This should be the throttle knob, but somebody's wanted to fix this as the choke knob. Choke knob would be here. The truck's kind of unusual. It still has the radio delete plate, indicating that the truck was never outfitted with a radio. But today's project is to sort out some of this wiring and get as much of it out of the way as we can. And it looks like somebody foot. Well, the wiper motor is going to have to come out as well. Now, it looks like somebody's put an electric wiper motor in this. This should have been in vacuum. So we're going to take as much of this little wiring out. In fact, we're going to take it all out. I have a wiring harness. And sort this out. Feed this back through the firewall. The dash is a little surprisingly bent up here. That's the headlight switch. Would go in there. The flasher, well, we'll see about keeping this. Trucks did not have turn signals originally. This one has been upgraded with turn signals. The front parking lights convert very easily to turn signals. The old days, a lot of people just cut out the fender, put turn signals up on the fender. Works fine, it's just not as clean, but surprisingly easy to take the parking lights and transform them. I think these rubber grommets are going to be salvageable. So we will take these off and see if I can salvage them. Generally out here in Arizona, the big thing to do is just get new parts for the rubber's always a problem out here. It just dries out something fierce. This is the mess that was causing me a lot of problems. This is some of the wiring that went originally through the body and to the tail lights. That. And let's see if we can sort it out. What we've got. These trucks are remarkably simple. Don't be intimidated by some of these projects. There's lots of YouTube videos. There's lots of forums and help on let's see what we got here. Like somebody stuck a oddball horn set up on here. The original horn would have been on the manifold, but I suppose something like this would work. It's not my idea. It's obviously a truck. I'm not going to be putting this back to stock. I myself prefer stock vehicles. The more stock they are, the more they become a time machine. You take a truck like this in its original state and you put it on the road like Route 66 or US 6 or something, but you get out cruising. That's as close to time travel as you're going to get. The original horn wire would have come up through the steering column to the horn button. They've got an aftermarket turn signal switch here. This is broken anyway, so you don't need this. A few basic simple tools. You can do this faster I am not an electrical person. I have rewired one truck in my entire life. I used to be pretty handy with electrical tape, but years ago I had a 50 Chevy truck, and I did some horse trading in exchange for a writing assignment on about the electrical systems on these old Chevys. I got a wiring harness from YNZ Wiring Harness. This one is from Jim Carter, and that was the first truck I'd ever rewired. Let's see what we got in this rat's nest. Like I say, there's an aftermarket turn signal set up on here. You can just go through, and probably I'd be smart if I just went through the pair of dikes and started just clipping wires. Another thing I recommend is take pictures. This is intriguing. Looks like we have, I've never seen that before, but we have a aftermarket alternator gauge on here. Wish that's gonna come out. Now a lot of this is common sense. Don't be too intimidated. Just, you know, you can do most of this yourself. They're really simplistic vehicles. A little common sense goes a long ways. There's, like say, there's real active forums on well, Facebook, if you can get in, and your account's not locked like mine is. And I don't know why they put so many bolts and nuts on this thing. But they did. They're all just small on this, but I don't mind. Think. Don't be intimidated. Just think. I intend to keep the original 4-speed in the truck. I have no problems with grinding gears, jamming gears. It's been a few years truck driving, and I also had been driving these trucks for a long time. Cut my teeth on these, actually. Drove a lot of stuff before we were old enough to have a license. When I was a kid, everybody had to haul water. We did this, but our going to town truck, if you will, is a 53 Chevy half-ton. This is a 3100 or 3800 series 1-ton. A little longer wheelbase, heavier suspension. And you can expedite this. You know, you could have taken all the gauges out and done this without pulling this radio grill and all this other material out, but it really is defeating the purpose. You're just going to frustrate the bejeebies out of yourself, and well, it's just no good. I have enough frustration. frustration. Why we have a bolt almost 5 inches long to hold a plastic gauge in place? You know, that's a very good question. Screwdriver, it looks like. Okay. Next, let's see what we can do here. I'm not even sure what some of these wires connect to. Most interesting. As you can see, it's not the easiest job, but I like to do this in some fashion so I have a clue what the hell is going on. And since all the wiring's been cobbled, when you get into this situation, for example, look at this wire here, comes from your ignition switch. Why the truck didn't burn down, I have no idea. This is hooked up to your ignition switch, and it's an absolutely bare wire under the dash. When you buy an old vehicle, especially get into these years, a lot of the trucks, the cars, they had cloth insulated wiring. 70 years, especially here in the Southwest, that cloth wiring becomes, the cloth insulation becomes almost like a dust. So you end up with a lot of bare wires in places you cannot see. And I just recommend taking a good look at the wiring, and then take some time and, like I say, get yourself a wiring harness and just patiently work on it. Get it done. Take out all this old stuff and then have a clean start. If you're fortunate enough to have original wiring, take lots of pictures. Use your cell phone. Take lots and lots of pictures. And you know, this may sound like common sense, and there's no harm in doing things goofy, if you will. Don't be embarrassed by asking questions. It's better to admit that, you know what, I don't know. You know, it appears stupid. It's better than proving to people you are. So that said, disconnect your battery is one of the first things you want to do on any wiring project. It's kind of a key. This is half of this stuff I don't know what is. Well, it appears that this switch was rigged up to the electric wipers, which is odd. Now, these old trucks had very, very few fuses. So what we're going to have to do is take the wiper motor out and see how that goes together. Well, a little more complicated. Next, let's get that out of the way. This is an oil pressure line that would have went to your oil pressure gauge. I removed that yesterday when I was taking the instrument cluster out. I'm going to save this turn signal harness as one of the last things I get into, because I'm not sure how best to route these wires. I want some sort of an example. Now this I took this would have been for the dome light. It's still there, but where's the other part? And what is it connected? Went through down by the windshield pillar, but it seems to, not sure, if we can get it out which way. I don't know what it's hooked on the other end, so that's a problem. As you can see, sometimes, I don't know if you're familiar with the Red Green show out of Canada. It was on about 20 years. That's definitely how I feel half the time doing this stuff. We have a, there she is. And we have success. Maybe. That's the dome light wiring. Now, next, I am going to have to get some wire cutters, and then rather than have you watch me just cut wires, let me show you what we've got here. the wiring harness we're going to be installing. As complicated as this appears, there should be some pretty sizable directions here. I hope there's directions anyway. This is the so-called simplified directions. The wires are numbered: high beam at headlight terminal block, firewall. It's a matter of figuring out. This is interesting. For stoplights, when a turn signal switch is not being used, connect 33 to 31 at steering column. 31 is now fed to both stoplights. Do not use wire 32. Well, my friend, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go get a couple dikes and wire cutters, and we're going to start snipping some wires out of this thing. And hopefully, in about a couple days, I will be able to show you how to start putting this wiring harness together. And that's the game plan. My friends, thank you for joining us. I hope you found this somewhat interesting. But till we meet again, thanks for joining me tomorrow morning on Wake Up with Jim, our audio podcast on Podbean. Don't forget to check that out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. And then Coffee with Jim is on Podbean Interactive Travel Program on Sunday mornings. And be sure to check out JimHinckley'sAmerica.com for more updates, more information, and more appearances.